Today we are bringing all of the MMA news straight to you with timestamps if you'd like to skip to any part of the video. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels and welcome back to everything that you missed in MMA this week. Guys, this is where we talk about all of the things going on in the MMA world. If you'd like to skip to any part of the video, like I just said, timestamps will be there, pinned comment, description, chapter bar right down below, guys. Let's get straight into it. Starting off with the first piece of news, something that we all kind of saw coming. Shara versus Ihor Potieria has been canceled because Ihor Potieria, of course, did lose his last fight recently to Michel Pereira, and I was actually really looking forward to it. It was really weird that Shara and Ihor Potieria was scheduled because typically you don't have a fighter scheduled to fight twice because you never know what's going to happen. He took some damage. He's appealing the loss. The fight is officially off, and I'm hoping they find an opponent for Shara because I'm very excited to see the future of the middleweight division with Shara and to see how good he actually is. I thought it was a perfect fight for him, but I would imagine they're looking for an opponent, but as of right now, the UFC hasn't said that they're looking for an opponent. Continuing on, guys, we have an update for UFC Vegas 93. I will bring you over to a user by Marcel Dorf over here. So Tatsuro Taira and Joshua Van and Alex Perez versus Tagir Ulanbekov are both off. On June 15th, we have two new fights. Alex Perez versus Tatsuro Taira headlining a 5-round main event, and Tagir Ulanbekov versus Joshua Van. I don't know why this is happening. It's a little bit strange, but I mean, I don't hate it. They're all good fights, but to be honest with you, I was kind of excited for Tatsuro Taira versus Joshua Van. If I had to assume the reason for this, it would be so they don't lose both Tatsuro Taira and Joshua Van, or like if they were to clash, one of their hype trains right now would have died down, obviously. So I'm guessing that's the reason for it. But then again, Tagir Ulanbekov does have some potential. I don't really know, man. That's a really, really tough one, but that would be my guess for just for fun right now for who I would pick to win. Tagir Ulanbekov versus Joshua Van. I'm liking the hype train of Joshua Van right now. He's looked phenomenal as of recently, but of course we have questions about his ground game. And for Alex Perez versus Tatsuro Taira, Perez actually had a career resurgence, as we all know, and Tatsuro Taira is really proving himself to be a top contender. So for this one, I don't really know, but I would actually lean towards Alex Perez as of right now. Continuing on though, so probably the biggest piece of news this week is Colby Covington is officially ducking Garry. I wanted to make a whole video talking about this, then everybody in the MMA space decided to make a video talking about this, and they're only talking about Colby Covington on Submission Radio because it's like, well, Garry didn't meet these 3 stipulations, and obviously the stipulations were impossible to get, so it's Colby Covington's way of saying, hey, I was down to fight him, but it's not happening, you know. But Colby Covington actually went on the Twins podcast before that and kind of said the same thing, and the video that I wanted to make was, I didn't like how dishonest he was being to the host there because the hosts at that time weren't necessarily too involved with the MMA space, and Colby was just straight up lying to him, and they were kind of sitting back and thinking that Colby's being a stand-up guy and telling the truth over here. And the entire point of that video is I was going to say that I'm very disappointed in Colby Covington, and it's not, I understand like how that comes. I'm just a guy like sitting here with a microphone. I can commentate about anything, right? What does Colby Covington have to prove to me? But as a fan, I'm disappointed in the guy right now. I'm disappointed at the way he's ducking Garry. I'm disappointed at his last performance. I'm disappointed that he's still talking so much and not backing it up at all. So I still like Colby Covington. I'm not off the train yet, but I'm very disappointed to be a fan of his right now, man, because it is clear as day that he is just flat out ducking Garry. Moving on though, guys, I want to bring you over to the UFC subreddit because if you guys follow these videos, typically something we do is take a look at the UFC subreddit and see what the MMA community has been talking about this week, what got the most upvotes. Last time it was Karolina Kowalkiewicz just posting a selfie, and this time it's actually a post, and this is a post by the username of, I don't know how to pronounce that, so I'm just going to skip that. But anyways, this is by far the worst thing to have happened in the UFC the last few years. This was one of the most trending posts in the entire subreddit this week. And of course, Jon Jones getting the strap, getting the belt, making Tom Aspinall wait, holding up the division. And of course, as we're going to be talking about later on in the video, this post was posted 6 days ago. That's before the recent news. And it's completely true. It's the worst thing that happened in the UFC in the last few years is Jon Jones getting that title and just sitting on it. Now we're going to have to see him fight a 41-year-old. It's absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. Well, a lot of people's opinions, actually. Moving on, we have an interesting update on Rafael dos Anjos' career because he had this to say on Twitter. Get me out of the lightweight rankings. For you lightweights out there calling me out, I don't want to compete at lightweight from now on. I have nothing to prove to nobody. I walk around at 195 at 39 years old. There's lots of fights that make sense for me at 170. I want to fight in July UFC. Get me back in that octagon. And honestly, I don't hate it. I don't hate it, man. The cut's probably getting to him at this point, and he's right. He doesn't have anything else to prove. He's an absolute legend in the sport. He was dominating the lightweight division for a very long time. Rafael dos Anjos in his prime was an absolute monster. So I like the fact that he's 39 now, doesn't want to cut so much weight, and there are a lot of fun fights at welterweight for him. Honestly, at this point, do you want to make another Colby Covington rematch? Because that's the only time, that seems like the type of opponent Colby Covington would face right now, but I don't know off the top of my head who Rafael dos Anjos would face, but there are a lot of fun matchups at 170. Next up, if you guys have not seen, Darren Till is back, and Darren Till is actually boxing. I don't know if it's the co-main event of the Darren Till card, but he's boxing Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., and forgive me, I'm not familiar with boxing at all. I don't know who that is, and I know that might be a big name in boxing. I know it's a big fight for Darren Till right now, but Darren Till's back, Darren Till's boxing, and I still, unfortunately, have no faith in Darren Till, but I'm going to sit back, I'm going to hope he wins, but I don't know if I'm going to necessarily watch that card. Next up, though, guys, I want to bring you back over to Reddit, because this was another thing that went trending on the UFC subreddit, and I thought it was really interesting because it's by Bot357, and it's my favorite fighter's quote. There's no talent here. This is hard work. This is an obsession. Talent does not exist. We are all equals as human beings. You could be anyone if you put in the time. You will reach the top, and that's that. I'm not talented. I'm obsessed, and that is a quote by Conor McGregor. Now, what I just realized is there are two more pieces to this, but we'll take a look at them quickly. But I've actually completely disagreed with this. I understand what Conor McGregor is saying. I get it, okay? You can work your way up to do pretty much anything you want in this life, but there definitely is talent. There's definitely genetics that exists, and to deny that is crazy in my opinion, but I understand the quote, and it's a very, very good quote. It's very motivating, to be honest with you. But what else is over here? So Khabib had this to say: climb that mountain so you can see the world, not so the world can see you. Oh, that's actually a good quote. But anyways, I see why this went trending now. Okay, so it's a quote by Tito Ortiz. He's reaching for those grapes. He's trying to make his wine, and the wine is already sounding like a violin with that cheese and wine. I don't even remember when that quote was, but that is definitely something Tito Ortiz would say. Yeah, a combination of being a really good post along with Tito at the end just makes for a complete viral post. And when I was gathering stuff for this video, I did not see that. Continuing on, the Joaquin Buckley and Daniel Cormier had a little bit of beef because Daniel Cormier, Daniel Cormier, Chael Sonnen, and Michael Bisping had a few choice words for Joaquin Buckley's call out against Conor McGregor because they all think it's a bad idea. And I made a whole video talking about this in this whole situation, the replies to it and everything. But my whole stance on it is Joaquin Buckley did a call out, right? He's trying to make himself a star. If you have Daniel Cormier, Chael Sonnen, and Michael Bisping, of all people, telling you that you're doing something wrong and you should be doing this instead, I would sit back and listen to them because especially, like, Daniel Cormier is great, don't get me wrong. He's great at promoting, he's great at what he does, but Chael Sonnen and Michael Bisping, of all people, whatever they say, I don't care how much we disagree with it, I would honestly listen to them. When it comes to promoting, those two have done nothing but promote themselves their entire career. So they have disagreed. They said that they should set up someone through the top 10, someone like Gilbert Burns, someone like Jack Della Maddalena, right? But Joaquin Buckley chose to call out Conor McGregor. Anyways, Joaquin Buckley had this to say: "Let this be known, DC MMA, Bisping, and Chael Sonnen, y'all mamas raised some hoes. Y'all really trying to twist up my words knowing damn well what I said in that cage, but it's okay, we can all have some fun." And then Daniel Cormier replied to him saying, "Shut up, maybe listen. You had a dumbass call out. You're getting talked about by three of the biggest voices in the game. Maybe listen. It was the worst call out in history. Don't let winning a few fights at 170 pounds get you too excited, bruh. Don't mention Audrey." And Joaquin Buckley actually had a couple more things to say today, but I don't know. Oh, no. We don't want that. We don't want that because I don't want to get copyrighted over here. So I think Joaquin Buckley had a couple tweets to say. We'll cover these ones over here. Happy to wake up this morning and not be a hater. DC MMA, how you feeling this morning? He's just still going on about it, right? If my call was the worst of all time, that must have held the spot first. DC, you funny. When Daniel Cormier called up Brock Lesnar, honestly, I don't completely disagree with that. And you so funny. I never became a fighter so I could be liked and gain followers. I became a fighter so I can fight and gain money. Hashtag FDC. I understand where Joaquin Buckley's coming from, to be honest with you. I really, really do, but it's a problem. This Dylan guy's been responding to him the whole time, which is really funny. We all know how much bro will switch up when he sees DC in person. Yeah, because unfortunately, DC is a pretty big guy. You know what's funny, actually, is when we were watching the weigh-in show for UFC 301, I had to try to explain to my wife that Daniel Cormier is literally like the baddest guy to ever walk this planet, maybe aside from John Jones. And just looking at him, you definitely wouldn't see it, right? So that meme is so true about Daniel Cormier. But it's not, another user had this to say, it's not about being liked, it's about being a decent human being and not mention someone's mother who unfortunately, what? I didn't know that. and not mention someone's mother who unfortunately died just because you had a horrible call out. Have some class. You're trying to go the Colby way, and it's so cringe. I didn't know whose mom died, if it's Daniel Cormier. Ooh, I don't know. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know anything about the situation. If anybody can clear that up in the comments, I would appreciate that. But Joaquin Buckley is still beefing with Daniel Cormier at this time. Now, for the newest UFC news we have right now, UFC 304 has officially been announced by Dana White, and it is, as ESPN has to say, is shaping up to be a banger. You have the full main card announced. You have Arnold Allen versus Giga Chikadze. Fantastic matchup in the featherweight division. Arnold Allen, I'm a big fan of. Love watching him fight. Muhammad Mokaev versus Manel Kape. A fight that has been a long time coming. Bobby Green versus Paddy Pimblett. Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blades. Tom Aspinall defending the interim belt. And Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad. These are all absolutely phenomenal fights. I will just, for the fun of the video, I'm going to go through my picks really quick. I'm going to pick Arnold Allen. I'm going to pick, ooh, that's a really tough one. I'm going to lean towards Muhammad Mokaev. I'm going to pick Bobby Green. I'm going to pick Tom Aspinall reluctantly because I'm a big Curtis Blades fan, and that's why it's reluctantly. I really want Curtis Blades to get the win, but I do think people are counting out Curtis Blades, and of course, I'm going to be picking Leon Edwards to win. So UFC 304 is shaping up to be one of the great cards of the year. I can't wait to see what the prelims are. Now, guys, we also had a lot of other fight announcements this week, and I have them all written down, so I will read them to you really quick. I'll rapid fire them right here, okay? Doo Ho Choi versus Bill Algeo at UFC Vegas 94. Brad Tavares versus Jun Young Park at UFC Vegas 94. Cody Brundage versus Abdul Razak Al Hassan on July 13th. Shauna Bannon versus Ravina Oliveira at UFC 304. Luana Carolina versus Lucy Pudulova at UFC Vegas 94. Molly McCann versus Bruna Brazil, UFC 304. Tracy Cortez versus Miranda Maverick, UFC Vegas 94. Rose Namajunas versus Macy Barber, UFC Denver, 5 rounds main event. Amanda Lemos versus Verna Jandaroba, UFC Vegas 94. And Shaylin Nurnikabiki versus Melquizel Causa at UFC Vegas 93. UFC Vegas 94, it seems like they're building up to be from the looks of it right now, it's being a primarily women's card, but hey, you know what? There's actually some solid fights on here. Like, I'm interested to see how Rose Namajunas and Macy Barber go. Tracy Cortez versus Miranda Maverick. But out of all of these fights, guys, besides, of course, the UFC Manchester card, Doo Ho Choi's back. I love watching that guy. Same with Jun Young Park, to be honest with you. So there's some sneaky bangers over here. The UFC is putting together some great fights yet again. Speaking of great fights, though, check out the video on screen right now ranking all MMA content creators. Check it out right here, guys. I will see you over there. Take care.